My parents immigrated from Switzerland quite a long time ago, 1962, and come to New Zealand looking for farming prosperity, and they ended up residing in Matamata. They purchased a family farm, and that's where I basically grew up. So started from a very young age, been on the farm, involved in all the things that go on, and coming from a large family, a family of 8 children. I had 5 older brothers who all ended up, after some other career choices, back at farming. And being the youngest son and quite competitive, I also joined into farming as I did like it. My father was a man that showed by example. He wasn't necessarily a great teacher, but he was very good at what he did, and we learnt by observing. And I guess I sort of, a lot through my career, I've done a lot by observation, really. Observation and taking on board the things that really work. So at 25 I started farming as an assistant manager on a 220 cow farm. From there I got the opportunity to move to Kokako Trust, where I became a manager on a 450 cow farm and stayed there, and that's really where I learned in a short period of time a lot about the nuts and bolts of how to farm and good farming practices. From Kokako I wanted to really get my own cows, and at that point the best opportunity arose on a 300 cow 50-50 share milking job out at Rotorua, which is not far from Kokako at Litchfield. And that was where I started my 50-50 share milking career. Not long after I had arrived, 6 or so months, I got rumour that Kapenga was looking for a new share milker, and one of my first goals, or that I had set from starting farming, was one day to milk 1,000 cows. And I knew the opportunity was there. I put my name forward. It was a little bit of a long shot because I hadn't been farming all that long, but it worked out. Kapenga at the time was a farm that was well developed, had all the infrastructure, but needed to do the next step. Kapenga has been supervised by Parent Ag, who were supervising Kokako Trust, and that's where the relationship sort of started from. And through that relationship I had quite a bit of confidence. I knew the structure of the way Kokako is run, which is similar to Kapenga. And with that I had a lot of confidence to go into the 50-50 share milking agreement. Working for a Maori trust has a lot of positives. The main one is that working for a Maori trust is everything's looked at long term. So anything that's done on the farm is long term. So there's no chance of the farm being sold. It's not a spec farm like a private enterprise may wish to do, and that makes everything, every application is done properly, and you end up with a better result. So from that point of view, from a share milker's point of view, that is always a big plus. Kapenga wanted to lift production and harvest, utilise the pasture to its maximum. And those are basic principles that is always first on any dairy farm. From our point of view, we wanted to come in here, lift per cow production. Per cow production was below average, and for us as share milkers with our asset in the cows, it was critical to get to lifting the per cow production to help lift our asset as well. We've set the farm up at a 3 cows per hectare stocking rate, which is on the higher side given the altitude and the contour and the distances of the farm. So the main reason for doing this is to harvest the pasture better on the hill country. Given the the contour of the farm, you're really governed by the hills and the sidelines. So that means that we have to manage the sidelines correctly, because the only way to manage the pasture on the hill country is by cows. On the sidelines, if you get it wrong in the spring, then basically you're forced to keep that undesirable pasture there until the winter, until you've got some dry cows to graze it off. So that's the basic fundamental. The other challenges are the distances. So you've got to weigh up sort of that the cows can keep their distances on an average, so they're not always walking a long way to the back. So you try and give them one paddock that's further away and a close one in the evening, or vice versa. The other challenges are basically the paddock sizes. So because the contour is there, you're forced to fence the paddocks in the sizes that the hill allows. So that means you've got variable size paddocks. So we've got another thing that we've got to juggle in there, is to make sure that the areas are correct. So you've got distances, you've got paddock sizes, and you've got contour. So it's very critical that that you get a nice steady feed intake per day. And we've used on this farm through the dry periods now the use of the feed pad to help with some of those, more difficult paddocks, that we can still supplement the feed intakes to keep the feeding level on a similar intake. Every 15 days, one of my staff members, my senior staff member, goes around and scores each paddock on the farm. So he'll physically drive around and measure it visually and record how many kilograms of dry matter are in each paddock. And with that information, with the balancing of picking the paddocks from distances, paddock sizes, contour, we can select the best paddock, and if we need, we can supplement by the use of maize or palm kernel if there is a bit of a shortage. When I look for staff, I look for someone that's got experience, depending on what level that they're coming to work here. So we've got basically the levels that we operate as a assistant manager, a herd manager, and 2 farm assistants. So there's a level for the farm assistant to progress as they develop. For an assistant manager, I'm looking for a person that has some seniority, so someone that's got the ability to manage the other staff, someone that's got experience, and someone that's looking a little longer term than 1 year. And also from an infrastructure point of view, I tell any prospective employee that comes here, Kapenga looks long term, and we have good infrastructure here and the job gets done properly. So the infrastructure they have to use, so it's the shedding, the cow shed, the calf shed, the races, the fencing, it gets to a higher standard, so it's a nicer place for them to work than on the average farm. There's so many things that have gone well, but the one that's the key to holding it together is the communication. Communication's very easy, and it's with that good communication that things can be achieved quickly and efficiently. As for the farm, it has produced beyond my expectations from when I first arrived. So we're very pleased in that aspect. I believe it's now 15 years that it was converted, and we're probably enjoying some of the better or the success of the previous Sharemilkers that have been here, that have put good grass species in and the development in, and just basically having those cows, the hoof and tooth syndrome on this what was a sheep and beef farm. So that side of it, the production side of it, the development side of it, from the feed pad and the extension of the effluent area, the expansion of the pond. There's so many things I could go on that have been done and been done correctly and efficiently, which has really made it enjoyable for for Marion and myself, and hence why we've now chosen to go into a joint venture with Kapega, and that really, it gives us a lot of security. Kapega, with their history and their philosophies, are not what give us a lot of confidence that we can go into the joint venture and do a similar job, if not a similar job down there, of increasing production, developing the farm, and making a more profitable asset for both parties. So for us, it's a win-win. We don't have to move, and we like living here, and we like working in the environment of Kapenga M, and with the communications that we use and the supervision through Peer and Ag, it is really gelled together, and that team, I just think it needs to stay together.